Welcome to the True North CFL podcast. I'm your host, James Tees, and today we have Tony Washington, a starting offensive tackle and an unsung hero of the trenches for the Montreal Alouettes. So, Tony, how are you doing this fine day?
Just finished pumping out a good workout. Doing good. Just trying to deal with all the craziness going on in the world.
Yeah, so how are you staying sane during this quarantine?
Honestly, man, just lots and lots of drinking. No. I've been training. Just trying to get ready for the season that may not or may come. Basically, man, just trying to keep myself busy doing stuff, taking walks. Like I said, working out. Being around my girl and family and stuff like that. So just same thing everyone else is doing. Just trying to keep it together.
No doubt, no doubt. So you're in Montreal right now, correct?
Yes, right now I'm in Montreal.
Wow, that must be pretty crazy with the amount of cases and all this stuff going on, right?
Yeah, it's quite scary to think that we're in the epicenter of Canada, but people are pretty much taking it. They're taking it serious. So you don't see a lot of gatherings out here. I don't see a lot of them, but a lot of people wearing masks. The numbers are starting to go down. So it's been crazy, but as long as you stay safe and keep a mask on, everything's been pretty good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I just have a little bit of a question. How was your path to the CFL? How was it switching from the American game to the Canadian game where there's a 1 yard difference for playing offensive line?
It's a huge difference because of that yard does make a big difference when it comes down to pass rushing. It makes a big difference in everything. I mean, every angle you take, every step you take, it's a little bit wider. It's a little bit more angled. It's not as powerful coming off the ball. It's a lot of defensive line. It helps the defensive lineman in a lot of ways. It kind of evens the playing field, if you will. Because if you have a lot of these D linemen, if they had to face us coming off the ball with no yard, if it's just right there, a lot of these guys might not, in my opinion, might not survive in that type of game. But they survive in this game because they do get that opportunity to create some power and some force behind them. And honestly, it changes everything we do, especially as a tackle. You just got to be that much quicker, and you got to be able to react that much faster. But at the same time, it's hard on D linemen too, because they have to take time to get to their move. They can't get to their move right away. They have to take a few more steps. They have to, read different things. There's a lot of things going on around them, moving with the waggle and stuff like that. So I know that defensive lineman with that yard, it changes things for them too. But I know for me, I was very good at being powerful off the ball when I was coming out of college. That was something that I was good at. And my angle when I was kick sliding and in the States was a lot. In my opinion, it was different. My angle was different. It was faster, and I was able to get on guys and make a strike. Out here, you can't do that. It's so much space. It's a lot of space, especially for a tackle.
No doubt, got to keep those. Got to work on those hands a little bit, especially with that 1 yard. The guys are a lot. Not really. They're smaller. They're faster. They're a little harder to get your hands on.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. How was it coming from the States and moving to Montreal? It's almost like, well, people don't know you hit your stride really in Edmonton. Is that fair to say? You played with the Eskimos.
Hit my stride. I kind of feel like when I was in Toronto, I did. When I left Calgary was kind of still a learning experience for me. Mm-hmm. Toronto was a bit of a learning experience too, but I think I had a better. I started to get it better. I think, yeah, you're right. I would say Edmonton was probably when I was like, okay, like I got this. I can play this game. So yeah, I would agree with you on that. Edmonton would be where I basically started playing at a really high level.
Yeah, was it kind of strange coming to Montreal? It's like almost like Europe. For me, it feels like Europe, almost like going to a place where majority of the people speak French. They do speak English, but how was that experience transitioning to a place where English isn't the first language?
It is a transition, obviously, because you got a bunch of guys everyone really speaks English. they would prefer to speak French, but they will speak English. It depends on who you're talking to. You can't. It seems like every construction worker out here acts like they can't speak English. You can't talk to them at all if you don't speak French. But as far as mostly everybody speaks English, I actually embrace it because I kind of want to learn the language myself. So I like it. I like it's different culture. It's a different vibe. I mean, I like Montreal as a city. It has its problems, and just like every other city, it's a lot of politics involved in this city. A lot of things that I just don't understand how a lot of things happen and get away with a lot. This city gets away with a lot of stuff that wouldn't quite fly in other cities. But I think people just embrace it because of the culture and because of the you can't be anywhere else in Canada like Montreal, especially for nightlife, just fun things to do. It's got everything. I mean, we got our own theme park. We got everything every other city has. It's right here, and it's better.
No doubt. Kind of switching back to more of like the playing kind of side. What was your favorite football moment this year? Kind of your favorite game? Like for me, watching the Alouettes, I think those Calgary games were probably the most exciting games I've seen all year.
Yeah, that was when I broke my leg, though.
Oh well, sorry to bring bring up.
No. Honestly, you're right, though. Calgary games were exciting. The first Calgary game was exciting. There were a few, like the Winnipeg game was exciting toward the end. It was kind of the Hamilton game, I think, for me, was probably the most exciting game for me. Not the first Hamilton game, I'm sorry, the second Hamilton game. They beat our butts pretty good the first time in Hamilton, and then we got to play them at our home. And to watch Will Stanback rush for 200 yards to shut them down where we shut them down, I mean, it was crazy. We had a couple of exciting games. I mean, there were some exciting ones in Ottawa. There was exciting ones in Calgary. A lot of our games were very exciting. I mean, there was only a few games where I can say we actually just got our heads dumped. So yeah, I would say my favorite one was probably against Hamilton.
No doubt. So I have to ask the CFL fan here, play offensive line too. So who would you say is the best defensive lineman you've gone up against?
And since I've played the game?
Sorry, CFL. My apologies, CFL.
No. I mean, since I've been in the CFL?
Yeah, since you've been in the CFL.
Oh, that's a hard one. The best? Sheesh.
Or in recent memory.
I was going to say, man, you got everybody from freaking John Chick to I can't think of his name, in the BC in 2011. There's been some, I mean, Charleston Hughes. Charleston Hughes has been consistently the best defensive lineman that I've played against, defensive end. Charleston Hughes has been consistently, I'm not going to say he has been the best, but every year he's been consistently hard to block. So I would say Charleston, I would go with Willie, and recently with Willie. I mean, honestly, man, there was another kid that was just coming up too. I thought if he would have stayed in the league a little bit longer, he would have been hard to block. It was Usher. And Edmonton, he was pretty good too. But yeah, I would say Charleston so far, consistently every year, has been one of the hardest. When you go to that game, you go with the idea like, okay, like you gotta put your helmet on and go to work because it's going to be a battle.
Going to be a dogfight, yeah. So who's an up-and-coming defensive lineman you think people should look for, kind of a guy who, when you went against him, you were like, oh, this guy, I got to give this guy some respect. He's better than I thought.
Yeah, up-and-coming. Let me think. Up-and-coming defensive lineman.
Or just a guy who's not one of these household names like Charleston Hughes, Billy Jefferson, not one of those guys.
Honestly, I would say the other guy outside of on the other side of Charleston is what's his name? Why I was just talking about the guy. Number 99 for Saskatchewan. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna come back to.
I'm not a Riders fan, so I can't tell you off the top of my head either.
I'm trying to think of his name, man. I have to think of his name, but it's the other defensive end in Saskatchewan. Um, I know his name. I don't know why it's slipping my mind because I played against him a few times, but he's really good. He's come Leonard.
AC Leonard, I
AC
think.
Leonard. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I think he's the next stud coming out the edge. He just needs a little bit more time coming. The guy didn't play defensive end. I think he played wide receiver for a while, and then they moved him. Coach Jones or somebody moved him to defensive end, and he's had a few years at end, but I don't know who moved him there, but I think it was a good move.
Yeah, CFL's like a weird game where you just see guys switching positions, like Micah Johnson, linebacker to D tackle, just a bunch of weird moves, you know?
But yeah, for sure. I mean, and I'm pretty sure I'm missing a name, and I think if I was to actually sit down and actually have time to think about all these guys, I know there's a name, another person that I played against this year, this past season and last 2 seasons. I mean, Boateng is another one, Canadian. I think he's getting a lot better, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, that school's just Canadian D-line U, the school he played for here,
Yeah,
Laurier.
Laurier,
Uh, yeah, what would you say is the best advice you've gotten from a coach while playing here in Canada that really helped your game?
Slow down.
Slow down?
Slow down. When I first started playing the game, I was on that NFL mindset or that down south mindset where I was coming off the ball too fast because of that space. Right, you got to slow down a little bit. Like you want to be quick, but you want to be slow. It's kind of weird. It's a weird happy medium where you want to be quick off the ball, but you need to. It's kind of like quick, slow, quick. You want to go fast, slow, and then react. Whereas in the NFL, it's like get off the ball as fast as you can because they're coming, and then when you climb into the next level, it's got to be right there because they're only 2-3 yards away from you. Everything is right now, and it's fast, and it's get there. But up here, it's fast, slow, fast. So like if I'm climbing, if I'm going down on a beat block, going down, my first initial step is gonna be powerful. I'm gonna get into my block, engage, drive, but it's slow. I'm eyeing, and then I get off, and then I react. So it's fast, slow, fast. That's the one thing that helped me go from where I was in Toronto to where I went to in Edmonton was, slow down. Slow down. You're going way too fast. That was probably the best advice I got playing this game. Everything else was stuff that you learn through the game. One arm stab compared to two arm stab. Hand placement when someone redirects inside. Being able to grab underneath the shoulder pad on the inside instead of stabbing, because you control the block where you have an inside leverage. Let's see. I mean, stuff like that, footwork, all those things that always come into it. But the one thing that I think that was the thing that helped me out the most was just being able to react slow, fast, slow. I'm sorry, slow. Yeah, fast, slow, fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the hand placement was the biggest thing. I used to be a heavy two-hand puncher. I was a heavy, like if I can get your chest, and I still shoot the strike right now. And that's one thing I think throughout my whole 10-year career is people always said is like if you catch me with that two-hand, it's over with. I know that. But what I had to do is start learning how to be able to strike with one hand, depending on the reaction. Because when you strike with two hands and your feet are in the dirt, you can't react. You can't react inside. You can't react back outside. Especially when you got a player like Charleston or Willie Jefferson. If they're wanting to go inside heavy inside, I mean, you throwing that two-hand punch, man, you get burnt every time.
Yeah, definitely what I had. I kind of learned how to one-hand strike playing university this year where we really emphasize that, and I'd never really thought about that, and it was definitely a hard transition for me. But say there's some young guys watching, what advice would you give them that would kind of help their game, so to speak, or like a drill or something? What's something you'd preach to them if they were a young guy, say in high school or younger?
High school and younger, I would tell them to start with the basics, with just working on their feet. Some coaches tell you to work on your hands, and I agree. I think where your hands go, your feet will follow. I do agree with that. But take it step by step, man. Like, don't rush progress. Everything you need to be working on is leverage. Being able to take your steps and create that power on your inseams of your foot. Taking the right steps and being able to create that leverage. But if you're a tackle, it's all about positioning. You need to be able to cover up your D lineman. And when I say cover up, it's not meaning nose to nose, meaning cover up the space between you guys. So when he takes a step, you need to be able to react and be able to line yourself up to where you're in position that you're still covered him up. You still beat him. He can't go inside. He can't go outside. So things like that will be the thing that I would try to teach a younger offensive lineman is how to position themselves to you should win the block with the position that you put yourself in. Like if you overset or if you underset, you've lost the block already. Now you're playing catch up. You know what I'm saying? You need to be able to take your set based on where he's aligned at and position yourself in the place where you beat him just based off your set. As soon as you take a set, if he looks at you and he's rushing and you take 2 kicks and he sees, he knows he's covered up. He's like, okay, damn, now what I got to do? I'm going to work my move, but now you're in a position to beat him. So I think as a younger guy, I would work on angles and hand placement. And I think I would work on my angles, hand placement, and feet. I mean, obviously the same things that we work on, but I think those are the things that help you cover a guy up in the pass game. Because let's be honest, I mean, unless you're a guard, you don't really make your money as a tackle run blocker. I mean, we do it, but that's not the first thing they want us for. They want us to protect the quarterback. And especially in the CFL, if you're going down south, then I mean it's a little bit different. And I think the game is different, and the way you train is different. The way you strike, the attack, steps, positions, all that stuff is different. And if I was trying to teach somebody down south, I would tell them to work on boards, taking step and driving down boards, meaning being able to angle, a board from in front of you and on side of you, and being able to take that first quick, powerful step, or inside, it's different game. Whereas up here, it's, you angle that board, it's like a little bit wider step, and then you attack. It's not 1-2, it's 1-2-1-2. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different.
Well, hey, this is good advice. You're helping me too a little bit.
I mean, this is have you not? I mean, this has got to be stuff you've heard, if not done already yourself.
Yeah, it has stuff I heard, but it's just like good hearing it from a guy who's at this level instead of just sometimes it's different when you hear it from not necessarily we're not peers, you're light years ahead of me. I'm in college, but hear it from a guy who's there rather than just a coach preaching it. It makes a difference for sure.
Yeah, and I'm most of the stuff I'm telling you is like different. I mean, I've had coaches tell me I can go through a list of things I've had coaches tell me, and I'm just like, dude, I would never tell anyone to do that. Most of the stuff I'm talking about are things that I've learned throughout my years from different coaches, and I just kind of collectively put it all together and kind of made myself into the player I am. You know what I mean? So some of this stuff might be different, but it's helped me get to this position to where it's like, as you go through your career and as you go through your college career, right now you're molding yourself into a different player. And every year you're either getting better or you're getting worse. So you're either learning how to attack the situation better, or you're staying the same and you're staying the same player. So every year I've been playing this game, I've been trying to do something different that will help me with something else, help me, be better at something I wasn't good at the year before. You know what I mean? And I think most of the stuff I'm telling you is like things that I've learned, and it would take me to sit down with you and like I'm cool with like sitting down talking about like just straight football, because it's a lot of information that I've learned, and I kind of maybe I should be a coach. I don't.
Maybe when it's all said and done, you can make your money right? As a coach. A lot of guys do that.
Make your money as a coach in the CFL. That's an oxymoron.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, do it as a little side hustle,
Unless you're the head coach.
That concludes Tony Washington's time on the True North CFL podcast. Thank you for coming on, Tony. I had a great time talking about what it's like being an offensive lineman in the CFL as well as technique. And for you listeners out there, you can follow Tony on Instagram at TonyWashington.official. Thanks. This has been James Tees for the True North CFL podcast, signing off.